Hey guys, thanks for watching as always. I haven't done a swim bait video in quite a while, so I figured I'd do one this time. We're not actually making a swim bait, we're actually doing some custom art on one of the prototypes that I've got at home. We've made a fair couple of prototypes over the last year or so, tested them out, and most of them work quite well. Here's some basic models that I've got. We've got some smaller fish and some bigger fish on them as well, as you can see here. Alright, new bass on the prototype. Not too bad of a fish. Took it on the corner over there next to the tree. Probably about 2.5 pounds, but we'll put him back real quick. Alright, first fish on the other prototype. Absolutely nailed it. It's a very clear water here, so I was able to see everything perfectly. Whoops. Awesome little fish on the swim bait. Perfect. Put him back. This one started just as the other ones, prototype model. Changed the belly a little bit. Anyway, push come to shove, did the epoxy coat, and unfortunately the lure dryer broke down, and so the epoxy coat was very uneven. So here we go ahead and kind of play around with things. Now, as a prototype, obviously we're not going to put a whole lot of effort into the paint job, but since we had to redo this one anyway, and I figured it'd be nice to put some artwork on there and also make a video about the swim baits that we test out and make as well. Might as well go the extra yards to do so. So since the crappy epoxy coat is on here, decide to sand it off. And as you can see, there's some bumps in there from the uneven drying process, and here we've kind of sanded everything clean except for the face. The face had been foiled, so we can't really touch the epoxy on that. Now we're going to put on a completely new base coat. So what we have to do first is tape off the area that's been foiled and where the eyes have been stuck on already. Obviously don't want to spray over that. We could technically take all of that off. However, the process is so tedious. I've done it before. Usually you damage the face carving, and you're going to have to redo the whole swim bait over. Or worse, you might have to throw it in the trash. So anyway, here we've taped off the face and put the first base coat on. Now, just so you know, at this point here, the tape is still on. We've literally just spray painted over the face. We're leaving it on till the very last end where we actually have to do the epoxying. Here we start with the artwork. I love Japanese artwork, tattoo styles, horimono it's called, and yeah, figured I'd stick to that since I like it. So here we put the first baselines on so I don't screw up once I use my permanent marker. Now, if you do intend on doing this yourself, best tip I can give you is get something with as fine of a point as possible. They'll allow you to put some artwork on there in much greater detail. This mark right here is actually quite thick, and Sharpie actually make a fine line point permanent marker as well. Anyway, that aside, this is just a sped up process of what we're putting on the side of the lure. One's called a Hanya mask. It's Japanese mask that's used in folklore. Pretty common in Japanese tattoos. Quite well known, quite recognizable. The other one that we put on is called a Daruma doll. It's a doll that they have in Japan for good luck, good fortune. So, since we're fishing, that might some point pay off. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So this is the site where we actually do the Daruma doll. They're funny looking character. Again, this is just an example. The cool thing about putting customized artwork on lures is you can just do whatever you want. You can make it very personable to the person that you're making it for, or for yourself. So this is just showing you how I do it. One thing that is very important to know is that permanent markers are not permanent once you put epoxy over them. The epoxy washes it out completely. It's like a chemical reaction, it just washes it off. So we'll eventually have to put another spray coat over this, just regular spray paint. It doesn't react with the permanent marker, and kind of go from there. You'll see what I mean in a bit. Anyway, we're putting some cherry blossoms on there because they're like a nice looking flower. Just get a bit creative. I don't really care, but just showing you how I do it. On the tail section as well, but not half as important as what's on the front section. Now I will say there is a bit of bad lighting in here, and I've tried to increase the contrast in the lighting so that you can see better, but either way. Here we've done the spray coat over the artwork, and just to increase the contrast we're going to scrape some of the paint away so that the silver base coat will become exposed. Then you can create some details with some shine on the side of the art that you've made. Don't necessarily have to do this obviously, but it does kind of give it a nice effect. Anyway, that's the end result. Looks quite nice, quite content. And after this, it's off to the epoxy. As I was saying before, if we wouldn't have sprayed over the red spray paint, the permanent marker would just run out, and it would be completely stained and smeared all over the lure. This is the end result with some extra glitter paint. Actually, it's not even paint, it's just glitter sprayed onto the side and epoxy coat over it. So that is pretty much ready to be tested out in the pool. The joint runs quite smooth, so good to go. Now this is a very slow floating lure, which means it rises very slowly in the water column on a pause, which is perfect for spring. It's great, pre-spawn, summer, and then I know early fall maybe as well. I mean, I have caught bass here in Texas into end of November, early December, if the conditions are right, but usually you won't really use surface lures throughout winter. So I guess you could use this bait for most of the year. As you can see, really nice swimming action. This is actually on a straight retrieve, and this is actually on a twitching retrieve. Makes a really good knocking sound once you twitch it. And on the straight retrieve you don't hear a single thing. You don't hear the joints clacking. It's perfect. And you can fish it quite slow because it has a really good wiggling action on the slow retrieve as well. A lot of problems that you see with floating swim baits is that you have to retrieve them at quite a high speed to get some good swimming action out of them, but that's not the case with this one, luckily. So perfect. Pretty content. Here you see it on the slow retrieve. and it does quite well on the high speed retrieve as well. Stays nice and stable, so you see that here. Perfect. Well, I'm quite content with that. Hopefully that inspired some of you to get a little bit creative with lure making. If you have any questions, as always, don't be afraid to comment, and thank you everyone for watching. Cheers.